These are 10 of my most controversial hot takes. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments.
Your single most controversial opinion?
I think it sucks seeing people who owe you money enjoy their life.
There are 10 of my most unpopular opinions. I'm gonna start off strong with saying coffee is nasty and you have to add a ton of stuff to it to make it yummy.
In today's mental health check, hot takes, controversial opinions, we all have them. And it seems like many people are not shy about sharing them, as we just heard, especially on social media.
Yeah, especially. But sometimes sharing an opinion, especially on certain hot button issues like politics, the election, can upset or frustrate people, can damage relationships. Joining us now is Nero Feliciano. She is a psychotherapist and an author. It is great to see you again. We were all sort of laughing at those hot takes, but with an election approaching, I'm just going to say it, like there's controversy everywhere. There are conversations that are divisive to have. Should we, if we know something's going to spark a debate, should we just avoid saying it in public company?
You know, it depends, and it depends on the relationship. Sometimes when you're in a relationship with that person, it can be the elephant in the room if you're not talking about it and add to the tension. So if you go about it in a productive way, it may not end up like the explosion. You may actually come to some sort of resolution.
I mean, let's talk about getting at it in a productive way, because some people may want to talk about those hot button issues. Yeah. What's the best way we can communicate them well?
One, you want to be clear about what you want to say and also what the intended goal of the conversation is. And that is going to be your compass when it goes off track, which these can easily go off track with the emotions running high. So you want to get back to that and then be concise and direct. We don't need to talk around the issue. We don't need to intellectualize and use words that are bigger just to make ourselves feel better. We want to be heard and understood. So direct, short statements. You don't have to qualify your statements like, oh, you're going to think this is crazy. Just state your opinion as it is. In fact, we find men are much better at doing that than women. We tend to qualify, I feel, I think. Just state it and then wait for the response.
Okay. Yeah, I find myself saying, I'm sorry, but, and then stating what I think. Look, there are a lot of phrases you say that we should just avoid that are sort of real triggers.
Yeah, we don't want to blame. You do this, and I've heard you say that. We want to start with how we feel. When I feel minimized when you interrupt me, like my opinion is not important. It comes off very differently than if you start with the you statement. We don't want to name call. That's a big one. That's steering off that course, right? We have to come back to our compass. And of course, you know, we just don't want to bring up the past either if it's not relevant to what we're talking about right now.
I love that. Okay, so a lot of us, especially if we've been in relationship with people, we might want to resolve some of that conflict. So let's talk about conflict resolution. How do we go about that? Or is it okay sometimes to just agree to disagree?
It is absolutely okay to disagree and focus on your commonalities. If you know we're going to come to an impasse, we've tried this, it's not going to work, right? But we want to try to resolve conflict. And part of it is going into it ready to listen first. We want to listen. We don't want to interrupt. And then we want to make sure that we understood what was said. We're trying to get as much information as we can because oftentimes our perceptions can become our projections. So say things like, okay, I just want to get this straight. Let me make sure I understood it. Give them time to clarify, and then you can go about stating your opinion as well.
And you say before we criticize somebody else's opinion that we should think about some things. What are the things?
You want to think about what made them think this way. You know, what has their journey been? How has it been different from yours? To give them this moment in time where they think this way. We want to acknowledge that, try to put ourselves in their shoes. And then we want to remember our relationship. How have we been there for each other in the past? You know, what ways have we shown up for each other? What's been important to our relationship? We don't want to throw that out with one difference of opinion. And then practice acceptance. Hey, we're going to disagree on this, but let's come together on the things that are meaningful.
And briefly, can you just give us some tools for listening well? Because we kind of came into this talking about all the chatter when you want to share, but how do we just listen well?
I mean, the biggest one is we shut our mouths. And really just body language. Look at that person in the eye. I'm a big fan of, or that's interesting. Tell me more. Those kind of comments, and save your opinions till after you're sure you're clear on what that person has to say.
Yeah, kind of what you were saying. Reflect back what they said. Make sure you understand it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. This was very helpful. Nero Feliciano, always great to have you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got a lot more news ahead.
You're watching NBC News Daily.